and welcome to the Terrorform podcast. This is Donnie.
I'm Josh.
I'm Kristin.
And I'm Erin.
And we're here to make the world a creepier place.
Oof.
So on today's episode, it's my turn for a story. And my story comes from way back when I was a young cat, back in the 2007s, 2009s.
A lot of haunting going on in those years.
When we were our most vulnerable.
When y'all were kids.
So this story takes place at my aunt's old house. It was a trailer house that she stayed in with her husband and child, who at the time was pretty young enough to need somebody to watch him during the day. But we'll get into that later. So I'll start with my story now. One night we were over at her house, and it was me and my mom, and we were there. Everybody was in the living room because it was a trailer house. So you walk in, it's the living room, and the kitchen's to the right when you walk in, and everybody's talking or whatever, doing their thing, and then my mom needed me to get something from her car, and it's nighttime at this point, so she's like, hey, go get something from my car or whatever. So I go outside to the car, grab what she asked for me to get, and I start going, so their trailer house has like an outside deck, and this wooden deck has stairs facing each other on opposite sides. So you walk up one side, another person will be facing you on the other side. So it's a two-way stairs facing each other, opposite sides of the deck. So
What?
So I get the item from her car. I'm coming to the porch because it's kind of a little walk away, maybe 20 feet or so. I go around the porch and I start going up the stairs. And as I'm going up the stairs, on the opposite side of the stairs is a little boy walking up the stairs, facing me, walking towards me as I'm walking up the stairs too. And usually when stuff like this happens to me, it doesn't register right away. So I'm just walking like, okay, yeah,
There's a kid.
Yeah, there's a kid, whatever. So I'm walking up the stairs, and once I get to the top, I turn to go to the door. I get to the door, and that's when it kind of sinks in, and I'm like, oh crap, what did I just see? This thing's behind me now. So
You turn.
yeah, because like I said, it doesn't register right away.
Well,
with me, I kind of lag. So I turn, I go to the door, and in my mind, it's because they have those old, they probably still have them, they're not old, but those child things for the doors where you have to push in.
Oh yeah.
It has the 4 circles you push in so you can grip it, and the child can't obviously comprehend how to open it, so it's a safety precaution. So I always, in my head, it's like I couldn't open it because of that, but it doesn't make sense because it's on the inside. So for the audio listeners, I'm sorry, but I'm going to give a demonstration of how it went. And I got to the door and the realization sat in. So I got to the door and I realized what was going on. So I'm at the door and I'm sitting there trying to get in. And I'm trying to shake the door handle and I can't get it open. And so I'm doing that for a couple seconds, which felt like a long time. And
do you see the kid still?
No, at this point I'm
You're not facing it.
I'm scared.
You don't want to look.
I don't want to
get in. Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to get in the house and I'm shaking the door, and it's like in the movies whenever somebody's being chased and there's this dramatic music in the background and the suspense is up, and I'm it felt like forever, but eventually I burst through the door. And everybody stops talking and looks at me and they're like, what's wrong with you? And I'm I close the door and I'm nothing. And I just give my mom her thing. And, that was the end of that. But I thought that was...
What the heck?
Yeah.
What did the boy look like? Did he have like time period clothing or anything?
Yeah.
Was he see-through?
Well, I can't really remember like specific details, but
he seemed to
I'll
off.
kind of get into that a little bit in a little bit. But so I got in contact with my aunt because later on, maybe a couple years later, a few years, whatever, it turns out that they actually had stuff going on in that house. And let me find the text.
Stuff as in like haunting?
Yeah, like haunting stuff.
Oh, because this was your aunt's house. That's
Yeah,
right. Okay.
and I didn't know about it. So it was around 2007 to 2009.
Should we shout her out?
Andy. Aunt Andy, she didn't like the way she doesn't like the way her voice sounds, so she
Opted out.
kind of opted out, but maybe we can get her on one of these days and
She'll be
get more
comfortable.
details.
Yeah.
But so I asked her everything that was going on, and she sent me some stories.
Man, you're really here to swallow in this time.
So the first message she sent me, she said, when Austin was little, which is her son, we made his room the very back room, and every night when we would put him to bed, he would scream bloody murder. We thought it was just because he wanted to sleep with us, but everyone kept saying he will cry himself to sleep. But he wouldn't. He would just scream and scream, and when we would go in there, he would be in the back corner of his baby bed, standing there just crying so hard.
Ugh, I got shivers. Just picturing that.
I couldn't take it, so I would let him sleep with us. One night I told Kenny, which is her husband, why don't we try... Yeah, hello, Kenny. Why don't we try to put him in the middle room? So we did. He fell asleep and slept all night. I woke up the next morning in total panic because he had never slept through the night there. So the next night we tried the back room again, and he just screamed and screamed, and so we never made him sleep in there again. Which, in that back room, my grandma used to babysit him, and I remember someone telling me that when she was babysitting him, he started crying in the back room, and she went to go check on him, but the door slammed shut, and she couldn't unlock it, like, to get in for like a couple minutes or so, and then it finally just opened, and she could check on him.
Dang, so it was like it was locked, but then just opened.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's scary.
Did
That seems like stuff you'd hear in
Ooh,
movies.
I would
Yeah.
move right out.
Yeah.
And I guess was Austin ever asked like if he saw it, or was he too
Yeah,
young?
yeah. I'm
Get into that.
getting to that. So I asked her
We
about
need
the door
answers.
closing on my grandma, and she said it's possible if it was that back room. During the day, Austin would play in there and talk away. I think he said it was a little boy and girl, but he was afraid of the man with no face.
What?
Hat
So
Man makes a return.
yeah, the Hat Man, Shadow Man, Smiling Man.
Just circling around our family.
And then she says, one time we were sitting at the dining room table and Austin was eating a bowl of cereal, and all of a sudden he grabbed his bowl and said, "No, it's mine." And she was like, "What?"
I got shivers again.
She was like, "What the F?" You know? And then she sent me another one. One time Kenny and I were arguing about something stupid, and I told him I was going to bed. A little while later he came running into the room and he said, "Babe, Austin toys are going off by themselves." And I said, "What?" "Well, get your ass in there and check on your son." And he told me, "I ain't going in there." I said, so she said, "What the F?" So I got up to check, and I made it go to the living room, and they all stopped. I guess she meant
toys.
took the toys in the living room, and they stopped. And then her other son, Josh, she says was older. Hello, Josh, if you're listening or watching. So Josh was older, and he stayed in there. One night he came home and saw a man standing at the window.
Oh boy.
Standing at the window, just
get
looking
scared
at
at
him. Let me get a drink of water.
Go through puberty again.
Okay, so one night he came home and he saw a man standing at the window just looking at him. I thought he was kind of drunk. He said he just looked at him and kind of nodded his head like, "What's up?" then she said, we asked our landlords if anything weird ever happened to them, and they told us a story about the water heater and how they put a new one in and turned the water on to fill it, left and came back, and the water was shut off, but they knew they turned it on. And then she says, Kenny always says he remembers being told that a family was killed in a wreck kind of behind the house where the creek is, but I'm not sure how true that is. Which I also tried to look up anything.
You couldn't find anything?
No, it wasn't like the movies when they go to the library and they're just pulling up all these articles and stuff. So she says, she asked for another snail.
Another what?
Snail.
For the aquarium, we gave her a snail.
Oh. It's like, wait, is this how you're getting this information out of her? You're bribing her with snails? If you want the next part of the story, give me another snail.
Okay, so that's pretty much all she sent me. And
But
I
guess before you move on, how you were talking, I didn't know this, but the only story I knew was of like their grandma and the whole door shutting and she can't get in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm gonna draw a story or like a scene of that. So this is what I came up with, and I think it's kind of funny. Well. The fact that you said one of them doesn't have a face, and this is what I come up with.
Yeah.
I'm psychic.
Also, Austin saying that there was a little boy, and that's what you saw coming up the stairs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I
scary.
was saying.
And then, who saw the little girl?
She wasn't sure if it was a boy and a girl, but
I mean, it lines up with, even though you couldn't find anything, if a family had a car accident and there was a man and two kids, and then maybe the facial featureless one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dang.
She said, I think he said it was a little boy and girl, but he was afraid of the man with no face.
Oh, that's
But
so spooky.
There's always like an older spirit that's like scary.
dominating.
Yeah, maybe it's like
not
ancient.
letting them leave.
Yeah, maybe we have like ancient spirits that just have to linger around somewhere.
Yeah.
Just
Hat
like
Man.
that book, Breath. I don't know if y'all read that. That's kind of like a dominating spirit, keeping
The other ghosts
young
there.
children's spirits and feeding off of their energy so she can stay alive,
It's like
basically.
an episode of Supernatural. And like Sam and Dean have to come and get the big bad spirit who's keeping everyone else there to release the other ones.
Yeah. So I guess with that, I guess we'll kind of stay on the topic of trailer houses, because I was thinking maybe it's something to do with trailer houses connecting somehow with spiritual things. And I know my parents had been offered a trailer house to stay in by my dad's parents, and so they were getting ready to move into it, and he said that
I too have a trailer house story, so after you do that.
I know he said he was working in the back room and he would keep hearing things back there. He'd go back there and nobody's there, nothing's there. And then one time he said he didn't even get through the front door, but he said something like stopped him. And
wait, is this is a different one? A different trailer?
Yeah, this is the one they were going to move into originally, but my parents. And he says it stops him at the door, and he hears this like growling, and he's like, what the heck, So and then he hears something say like, get out, in like a growl, and then he said it like shoved him in the chest, and he was like, oof. Yeah, nope. But my mom also said that she would hear things going on in there. She felt like she would always be watched in the back room, and that's where they feel like a lot of the stuff was like radiating from, was the back room.
It's always a back room.
Yeah. So it might be connecting that way. But on the little boy side of the what you were saying, like what did it look like and everything, I was kind of thinking like maybe it's just because since I died choking on a cheese stick at a young age, maybe that's the other dimensional me, because it was like, coming up the same pace as me from what I remember.
So you're saying that's like you as a ghost?
It could have been me as a kid, but then you also had to think that Austin was seeing a little boy, so it's like maybe that's not the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. You think that you died at a young age, you entered another timeline, and you were seeing yourself as at the age you died.
Yes. So it could work out that way, but I don't know, since he was also seeing a little boy ghost. So with the trailer house that they were going to move into, they decided not to, and my dad ended up selling it to a guy who they call Taco, and he was going to let his dad live in it. Well, he said they moved it, and a ghost drug his dad out of the house by his feet from the bed.
Some paranormal activity.
Yeah.
And so he said that Taco ended up getting like some holy water and splashing it through the house, and said that made it go away. Mm-hmm. So it could have been like something like a bad entity or something.
They said that he would call it El Diablo.
So on my next note, kind of sticking maybe with like lore type stuff.
Well, should he say his trailer?
Oh yeah, you could. Yes.
Yeah, I had something in a trailer.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I too lived in a trailer park. And
we all did.
Yeah, I was about to say we all did.
And well, actually, at the time, it was the same trailer, but this was, I can't remember the order. It doesn't matter. At the time, we were in Chapel Hill, and we lived on a patch of land. It was like a half acre. And I had fallen asleep on the living room floor with my little brother watching TV. And I woke up, don't know what time it was, probably 3 a.m.
Probably.
And
always 3 a.m.
Always.
I woke up and, like the living room light was on, TV was going, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the bedroom. So I get up, I leave the TV on, but I flip the light off, and I go walking down the hall. And like the way our layout is like my dad's room was on one side of the trailer, and then you enter the living room, the kitchen, it's just a tube, and you walk down the hallway. Yeah. And then there's the bathroom to your right, and then there was the room that me and Matthew shared that was on this end of the house. And the only people in the house was my dad, me, and Matthew at this time. And my dad was in his room sleeping. So as I'm passing the bathroom, I, like just in a sleeping state, like half asleep, I'm trying to think of how to do this voice. From the bathroom, I hear, "Don't go back."
I thought you were going to say, "Don't go chasing waterfalls." I was like, why is it singing?
No, I wish it said, "Don't go chat." Thank you for the tip. I'm going to sleep. No, the classic ghost voice, like straight up like that. Either Ghost or Michael Jackson, one of the two.
The ghost of Michael Jackson.
The ghost of Michael Jackson. Don't go back. And so I hear that, and I stop, and I look over to the bathroom, and I'm thinking, is my sister in there? Because I have a little sister too, but she was at my mom's house at this time. And by the time that clicks that my sister wasn't there, it says it again in the same voice, "Don't go back." And I freaking jet the rest of the way into my room. I bust my shin on my nightstand next to the bed. And then I'm under the cover holding my freaking busted shin like, I'm not getting out.
Afraid and hurt.
Afraid, hurt, thinking about what it meant. Don't go back. Was it warning me? Did something happen to Matthew in there that night? Don't go back. It's too late for him.
Oh my gosh.
Left him all by himself.
I laid there thinking about that too. I was like, there's demons in there with him right now.
Oh my god.
And I need to go help him. But it said, don't go back.
I'm like, okay.
Is it a good spirit or a bad spirit?
So when I lived in a trailer house, I don't really have any like ghost experiences there, but my parents said that in our bedroom they always had a bad feeling about like the closet back there. They said it creeped him out. It always gave him bad vibes. And they eventually just took the doors down from it because they didn't want, the closet being up anymore. So then we just had like an open closet. And they said it wasn't as spooky after that.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
Trailers, man.
Maybe some with the trailer houses. I don't know. So if y'all have any scary trailer house
stories.
Trailer park stories.
We are in Texas. Come on.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So with the kid that I saw before I kind of pieced it all together with Austin seeing the kid and everything, I was kind of I looked up like what's the deal with ghost children and stuff, because it's usually a ghost child or whatever. Mm-hmm. And apparently there's something called a myling in Scandinavian folklore, where it's a ghost incarnation of the soul of a child who has been forced to roam the earth until they could persuade somebody or otherwise cause enough of a ruckus to make their wishes known to bury them properly. So it said that they come into existence when a child is unwanted and therefore killed by its mother. It can be heard singing in the night, thereby revealing the mother's crime. Ways to help the myling is to give it a name or to find the corpse and bury it in holy soil. So it says it's said to chase lone wanderers at night, which I was alone, and jump on their backs. And I turned my back to it.
You made a mistake, Donnie.
Yeah.
And then they demand to be carried to a graveyard so they can rest in hallowed ground.
Help them out.
What culture is this from?
Scandinavian.
Okay.
It says mylings are thought to be enormous and apparently grow heavier as they near the graveyard, to the point where any person carrying one or more, apparently they can stack on.
That sounds so scary.
The person carrying them could sink into the soil.
Oh my god.
If one should prove unable to make it to the cemetery, the myling kills its victim in a rage.
Oh my god.
So I was like, dang, I had my back turned to this thing. It was about to pounce.
You're about to get taken out, Donnie.
And you did the whole ancestry DNA, and you have a tiny bit of Scandinavian. So it's let's get this boy.
But so there's this word, utbird, which means that which is taken outside and refers to the practice of abandoning unwanted children, like children born out of wedlock to parents who lack the means to care for them, where they dump them in the woods or other remote places where death is almost certain to befall them. It is believed that the ghost of the child will then haunt the place where they had died, or, as told of in countless stories, the dwellings of their killers. So maybe, I was thinking maybe something had happened on that property or something, maybe. But then it pretty much says that it's mainly infants. So it's
abortions.
No, they where you take the baby and just leave it in the woods and let nature take its course.
That's so messed up. Just put it out of its misery.
Because it says this.
Wait on a coyote to eat it or something.
Because it says this infanticide is generally carried out secretly, and its victims were often abandoned shortly after birth. So I was like, well, it was kind of older. So then I was like, well, maybe it was me and the other timeline.
Other you.
Okay, so their lore is that it's usually babies.
And
the
babies are just abandoned children.
Or it's just the word.
Or is it
Goo Goo Gaga?
I'm assuming.
How is that going to jump on your back and demand to be taken?
That's a different ghost.
Oh. I mixed the two things up. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
the Uthbird.
It says the belief that mylings are enraged and seeking revenge is what gave them the reputation as one of the most menacing types of ghosts in Scandinavian folklore.
Yeah, the myling want to clean on your back.
So that could be some of the lore in for a ghost child or something, but we're not in Scandinavia, so.
Still interesting.
We're immigrants, so maybe
the
culture
coincide.
traveled.
But man, I already thought children ghosts were like sad because, you know, just children wandering around not knowing where to go, and then that lore makes it even sadder.
Yeah, and the fact that they're alone too, like they don't have anyone.
That was all Wikipedia, by the way, so
yeah,
it couldn't be, it could or could not be a reputable source or not, but
it's reputable. It's
kind of going off what Kristin said, I also found something on Yahoo News. It says 6 reasons why child ghosts are so terrifying. The first one is that they were harmless in life. So it kind of gives them like this innocence. And so you would automatically let your guard down, but you know there's something probably menacing about it, you know, because it's a ghost child. Like, how do you protect? It says, how do you protect yourself against something you've never had to defend yourself from?
Yeah. A little Chucky.
Yeah. The second one says they represent innocence that's been corrupted.
Yeah.
So the third one, they're very single-minded, meaning, unfortunately, if they are fixated on haunting you, it means that you've got their full attention. If handling a living toddler is already a handful, what more an undead baby with supernatural powers?
An undead baby.
Seriously.
The fourth one, they are a perversion of our childhood, which kind of got me thinking back to my
you dying
at a young age, but I think it was kind of saying something else, because it says like a colorful ball rolling into view or the sound of a child's laughter, which I've heard a couple times, and it's kind of like, what the heck, you know, kind of menacing, even though it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's just like when you're not expecting it, or it's not right to hear it at that moment.
The fifth reason is that they are difficult to reason with. It says, have you tried reasoning with a child?
Yes.
It says it's impossible to understand what they're thinking at times. Now imagine that with a child ghost, and you have a creature of the night that cannot be convinced easily. It says at least adult ghosts have an objective for their hauntings. Child ghosts can be willful and temperamental, and that's not what you want when dealing with incomprehensible forces. And the sixth reason is they force us to override our natural instincts.
Oh, yeah.
Because it goes against our natural instincts.
Hurt a kid.
Wait, what?
Like to help a child, but then it's like you're afraid of it now because it's
it says, so what happens when you have to fend for your life against the horrifying ghost child, you have to try all means to destroy it.
Yeah.
But this goes against our natural instincts to protect the child.
Hey, I'll punt a kid.
It comes down to it.
It
comes down to it. That boy going across the room.
Boy going. I looked up something similar as that, but like, why are kids so creepy is what my thoughts always are. Because it seems like it's always kids and the elderly who are creepier. Like, at least in horror movies. Like, doesn't it seem that way?
Yeah.
Like, they're always scary, which is weird because those are the two things I can for sure take in a fight, is a child and an old person. So you'd think you'd be scared of an adult, like, that's dead or whatever.
Yeah.
But, did you have anything else?
No,
On that topic, anyway?
Ending that segment so you can have free range back.
So I looked up why are kids creepy, and I came across a Reddit article or a Reddit post that said, why are children and sounds of children creepy in horror movies? But I figured it was close enough because horror movies.
Yeah.
And this is what they say. Because they're moved ever so slightly away from their natural state. If you're familiar with the Uncanny Valley, it's the same phenomena. So I read that, I was like, interconnected.
Episode 1.
So it's the same phenomena. Humans are good at noticing things that are different, particularly in other people. Children, in particular, are something we are hardwired to be attentive toward. The creepy little girl in the white dress isn't just a little girl. Filmmakers use tricks like playing their footage in reverse to get a lot of the creepy walk cycles done. They will make them not move enough for a living person. They'll make the costume unnaturally pale or change the model's proportions. All of this is there so you can see the child, and your brain goes, this is a thing that's trying to look like a child.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of stuff like that. Like, it's demons, so you're, like,
Yeah.
more open and nice to it.
Like, if you come across, like, for instance, in your case, a little boy outside of the trailer that's not part of your family.
Alone in the dark.
He's just a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah. Have you talked with the Lords? No. Yeah, that kid is not crying or anything like that. So you know that's not a kid, but it's something looking like a kid. At least that's what this is saying. That's what your subconscious is telling you. Like,
yeah.
This is something trying to pretend to be a kid to get my guard down. And then it's gonna get me.
Yeah, it's like Donnie, he lags, so we got
I lag.
Yeah, and then since it brought up Uncanny Valley, I wanted to look for another explanation of that was for dumb people like me to understand. And so there's this subreddit, I don't know if y'all have heard of it, Explain Like I'm 5, where you can ask anyone to explain anything to you like you're 5 years old. And this is someone explaining the Uncanny Valley, and so this helped me understand it more. It says it's about the human psyche and human-robot interaction. Humans will empathize and interact with a cute robot. As it approaches increasingly human-like features, we'll continue to empathize until suddenly the robot is too close to being human. It's almost that we are immediately drawn to, and our brain doesn't like it. So, for example, WALL-E, in the Disney movie WALL-E, not a sponsor, is cute and adorable because he's a robot that doesn't look anything like a human. But if you look at something else that does look close to a human but is a robot, and its movements and features are a little too unhuman-like, some people will find that creepy. Or a little girl's Barbie doll is acceptable because while it has human features, it's not quite at the level where it's too close to being human. So we like Barbies. But we don't like the animation of the characters in the Polar Express because at times the smiles and animations are just a little too off-putting to us. Also see dead people, zombies, horror movies with creepy little girls who move unnaturally. The Ring, I'm looking at you. Sometimes clowns, and pretty much any Bethesda game. I don't know what that is.
Bethesda.
Oh, Bethesda,
like Skyrim, Oblivion,
Okay.
Morrowind.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a video game company.
Fallout, I believe, is Bethesda.
Gotcha. So people are creeped out. I can see being creeped. So that's uncanny.
Because the way they glide across the landscape is just
it's not
so unnatural. Yeah.
So
also like the movement of like the mouth and eyes, it's like close to being right but not quite.
It's like their mouth's just open but not their lips. It's not like forming words.
Yeah. So that's what it is. And then the reason it's called like Uncanny Valley is they say picture looking at a chart or like a graph in front of you. And on one end you have a normal looking cartoon that is nice and acceptable. And on the other end, you have a real human. At both of these ends, the graph is high, meaning that those things are acceptable and pleasant for humans to watch or look at. But at some point in the middle, it falls down into the uncanny valley. Essentially, meaning that things that fall into that area of the graph are really unpleasant and creepy to look at. It essentially describes how looking at cartoons and animated things is totally fine and looking at real humans is totally fine. But as you switch from animation to real, there is a point where the thing looks close to being human but still very unnatural and unsettling, much like a rubber mask. And that, I was like,
That makes sense.
Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
I can already think of like two things that could fit into like that whole Uncanny Valley. You know, like that YouTube video that it was kind of popular because it made people uncomfortable, but I think the video wasn't meant to be uncomfortable. Was that robot saying, "I feel fantastic"?
I was about to say, I feel
fantastic.
Oh
And it's
my
just like a mannequin, basically, a mannequin like robot. For
You're
people
saying
that don't
it feels
know
something, but you know it's not.
Right, it can't feel anything. And in fact, it's just a mannequin, but I guess it's speaking, and it's just, it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
And then another thing I can think of is, like, Courage the Cowardly Dog. Sometimes they would have, like, real people's faces mixed with the, like...
Oh, yeah, and that was so creepy.
Like the floating head in the basement.
Yeah, that, or, like, the TV. It would look like a 1920s, or, like, black and white guy speaking into it.
Mm-hmm.
Back when cartoons were good.
Yeah.
Back when they were good. Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, it's pretty
So I guess,
interesting.
On another note, going back to episode 2, gotta clarify a thing.
Gotta clear the air.
Clear the air. Didn't think I was ever gonna hear the end of it when I went to my parents' house.
It's a word from our viewers.
My parents watched the episode and they said I got some details wrong on the necklace story.
Uh-oh.
And boy, were they going at me hard. So, mainly, I remember and she remembers it being like hanging outside of a window, not being hung, but it was hanging outside of the window. They say it was laying on the ground outside of the restroom window. So everything was right except it was on the ground, not hanging outside the window. And specifically, he did not ask my mom to call Puddin, her sister. He just told her to call over to the house and have somebody check around the house.
So he saw a specific house, like their house?
No, he just kept seeing a necklace, I guess, laying on the ground. They told us it was hanging somewhere outside of a window. So I guess it was in the dream he was seeing a necklace on the ground outside of a window.
Somewhere.
And going back also to him or Erin I guess both of them saying about the touch or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He said that anytime he had a dream 3 times in a row, he knew, something was up. So he had that dream 3 times in a row.
He was getting tired of it.
And was getting tired of it. So he had my mom call over to the house and tell somebody there to check all the windows. And sure enough, they found Puddin's necklace outside of the window that she had lost, but didn't know where it went.
That's a pretty cool superpower to have. I don't know what you would call it, like a psychic ability.
So
a sixth sense of some sort.
I might get with him sometime and record. He has a bunch of different stories, so I might have him sit down one time and do like an interview style where he just tells all his stories.
Almost like a documentary.
Yeah,
have him sitting there and just have him speak the whole time.
Yeah, so.
And the corner be like, Randy.
And then also on the touch thing, we went over last time where I said that I believe they still hear things in the house and stuff, which they confirmed that they do still hear stuff like footsteps in the hallway, doors opening and like sounding like they're opening and closing, which I'll go into that in another episode when I know for sure I heard it when I was living there. They also had a TV in the living room that me and Erin eventually took to Huntsville. I noticed it one time, and it's happened to my mom several times. Well, it happened to me a couple times, not too many, but anyways. So the TV would turn on, but the picture would be black. It would just be the audio of the TV, and you couldn't turn the TV off. You couldn't turn the picture on. You'd have to unplug the TV, plug it back in, and it'd be off. And that happened several times in the house. When we took it to Huntsville, my mom was like, "Ooh, it's gonna be turning on y'all," and Erin was like, "Oh, I hope not, because that'd be freaky." But it's never done it outside of the house. Like we've had it since
and we've
Huntsville.
had it for 2 years.
Yeah,
in Huntsville.
2 years,
and then now
and it's in our room now.
3. So we've had it for about 2-3 years.
It's never turned on. No.
Did they replace their TV at their house?
No,
it's just nothing in the living room now. But yeah, it hasn't happened to us, so maybe it's just that house. I don't know. So.
They need to get another TV and test it.
Yeah.
And then they need to exercise their house.
They have a chimney that they think.
You go into it?
Well, I'm a kind of say it because.
Maybe in a future episode.
Well, yeah, it'll be the stories relating to that in future episodes, but kind of the reasoning behind it, they think, is that why they hear. And I've seen stuff in the house. They've seen stuff. heard stuff. We've all experienced stuff. And the main thing they think is because the former owner who had passed away, his wife was still living, but her husband's tooth, who had died, was in the cement, not the cement, but like the mortar for the bricks. One of his teeth were in the mortar, and so they eventually, my dad picked it out and they took it to his grave site and buried it, and it kind of slowed down after that, but
stay tuned.
That sounds like some voodoo or black magic.
Why was his tooth in there?
I don't know why it was.
They're not even related to the people that died, and they let them live there, so maybe it was like some kind of entrapment.
Maybe they were putting a curse on
Yeah.
Could be, because a lot of stuff has happened there, which I'm planning on, like I said, having my dad tell stories, because some of them are there. I might tell stories that happened to me there as well. But I took a picture because there's still a miniature, like a Coca-Cola bottle in there. So I'll put that video or the picture in the video so you kind of get an idea. Because
audio listeners.
Yeah, sorry, audio listeners. But it'll kind of give you an idea of what the tooth would have looked like in the mortar stuff. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, you can post on Instagram too.
That too, yeah.
Tell the audio listeners to go there.
True.
So any Instagram artist, if you listen to the story and want to depict the ghost walking up the opposite side of the stairs, or my frantic doorknob jiggling to get into the house,
or Michael Jackson's ghost in my bathtub.
Michael Jackson's ghost, demons around his little brother in the bedroom.
There's some kiddos. I guess that could be the Myling. I guess.
Or the little girl that he was saying.
Yeah.
If it was.
And then a bunch of kids that will probably
3 of them.
probably show up again in another episode.
But I think that's all I've got for this episode. Y'all got anything to add on? Anything y'all want to talk about?
Not that I can think of.
I think Kristin had something, but I don't know. I heard you start.
Oh yeah, I forgot what that was.
Oh no!
It was about the children ghost, right? Was that what they were talking about?
I think it was at that part.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say that I always hope that the children ghosts weren't actually children ghosts, like they were demons or something, because it's just so sad for kids. Their spirits just be roaming lost.
She wants some evil.
I just want the children to be able to rest in peace.
I guess it all depends on what your beliefs are on ghosts, because if ghosts are real, then there's bound to be kid ghosts, just as there's ghosts for everyone.
Yeah.
But if you believe that when you die that you are either nothing or you go to heaven or hell, then that means the ghosts are demons.
Yeah.
And it's the Uncanny Valley thing where you can tell something's off, but they're mimicking something else.
Or they're just like an ancient spiritual being. So like the kids, maybe they were never human to begin with. They were just brought up as ghost kids.
They're just like a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to feel sorry for. That's just their job.
That's just their life.
I did forget one thing I wanted to add. One of our viewers sent in his sleep paralysis.
Hey, Jacob.
Not necessarily a story, but hello,
Jacob.
But he said he can't move. I don't know. I don't remember what happened, so I told him make sure to kind of write down what happens next time. He said, one time when I was real young, though, I swear there was an old-ass dude grabbing my arm, and I could still feel his grip after I was able to move again.
Ooh.
Ew.
And then he said, sometimes I just stare the shadow people down and threaten them.
Jeez.
But then he wakes up and they're gone. So he said they're too scared they don't want the smoke. So maybe you just gotta fight your sleep paralysis demons. And
if I can move, I would.
But I think that was gonna be it for this.
Wrap it up.
All right.
So any scary stories y'all have, send them into terrorformpodcast@gmail.com. Any artists, go to our Instagram, send in y'all's drawings
at Terrorform Podcast.
Terrorform Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, wherever.
YouTube.
You can send it to us wherever.
Make sure to leave a comment on the video. Give us some feedback.
For real.
Any interaction is welcome.
Very much so. Thank you.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
God dang.